The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody, this is Paul at Grandy and Associates. We've got our webinar that'll be starting here in just a few minutes. Today's topic is Your Website Ready for Company by Lorraine Ball. And like I said, we're just waiting the last couple minutes as our final attendees are registering in here. So again, please sit tight. We'll start here in just a couple minutes. And it looks like it's coming up right on 11:30. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Paul Sylvie. I'm the business manager here at Grandy and Associates. We'd like to welcome you today to Grandy and Associates Business Advantage webinar. Title of the program today is Your Website Ready for Company? Today's guest speaker is Lorraine Ball. And before we have Lorraine take over here, just a couple housekeeping items. Lorraine will be taking questions at the end, so if during the presentation you come up with a question, jot them down. At the end, there'll be time to type them in, and then I'll relay them over to Lorraine for answers. Also know that the presentation today is being recorded. So afterwards, you will receive an email with a link to the recording. So if you miss part of it, or if you want to pass it on to someone else, you'll have that resource available also. And then with that, let me tell you just a little bit. Lorraine is the owner of Round Peg. And Lorraine, maybe you can just, before we start here, tell us a little bit about Round Peg and exactly what your company does.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much for having me today. Round Peg is we are a digital agency. We've been around for about 16 years, and we started life as a traditional marketing company. But as most of you probably know, marketing just isn't traditional anymore. And so today we build websites, we write content for blog posts and social media and email newsletters for companies primarily in service industries. And as you'll see in the presentation, you're going to see examples from a lot of different types of companies. And so with that, I'm going to get started. I'm going to warn you that there's a lot of information in today's presentation. This is actually excerpts of a 4-hour program, and I'm just kind of hitting the highlights. And so I know you're going to have questions. I'm looking forward to that part of the program. Basically, in today's program, we're going to cover kind of 4 key areas. The first is how you audit your existing website. How do you look at what you've got now and figure out how to improve? The second part of the program is analyzing your traffic sources, figuring out how you get people to your website and where do they go once they get there. We're going to look at improving your SEO, and I'm going to tell you that SEO is a huge topic. I'm going to skim the surface and just give you a little bit of a starting point, and then I'm going to plant some seeds. If you do these first three things and you're starting to feel like, okay, I'm ready for a redesign, I'm going to give you some action items to kind of consider as you move into that next phase. First thing, with the audit, we're going to look at three areas. We're going to look at the physical design of the website. We're going to look at the content, the information that's on the website, and we're going to look at conversion. And what conversion is when someone comes to your website, do they take the next step? Do they call you? Do they fill out a form? Do they sign up for something? Or do they simply go away? A good website will score well on design, content, and conversion. First impressions matter. And so you've got to look at initially, how does it feel when someone comes to your website? And I want you to be honest. Go and take a look at your website through the eyes of your customer. Yeah, my website's okay, but is it? If it's been more than 2 years since you've updated your website, it probably isn't okay. In the world of the internet, in the world of digital marketing, more than 2 years is a lifetime. So much has changed from a design perspective regarding mobile responsiveness, regarding the kind of information, how you change images and how you modify your text, that if I get to a website that's about 2 years old, it feels it. The best way to decide if you're in this category is to jump from your website to not a competitor's, but jump to other websites that your customers go to, other products, other services, and decide if you measure up. So the first thing I mentioned there was responsiveness. 56% of traffic to websites now come from mobile devices. And a few years ago, we just saw that start to happen, and we started telling people that maybe they needed to be considering mobile responsive. This is an absolute must now. If you do not have a mobile responsive website, Google will not drive traffic to your website from mobile devices. And mobile adaptive is not mobile responsive. This is an example of a mobile adaptive site. This is what it looks like on a desktop, and then this is what it looks like on the mobile device. And what you see is it's just a scaled down, skinny version of exactly the same information. The problem is that this really is the size of my phone, and none of this information is readable. Yeah, it's all there, but if I want to read any of it, I kind of have to stretch it and slide. And you're like, well, people got 2 fingers. They can stretch and slide. Well, yeah, but not really. People are lazy. If they get to a website that is like this, that is mobile adaptive, you know what they're going to do? There's a little back button right down here on most mobile devices, and they're going to hit the back button. This is mobile responsive. On a mobile responsive website, you literally rearrange your content. You still have, we chose to still have our big picture, but you'll notice the little RP disappears. It looks pretty on our desktop, but it just takes up room on the website. And you'll notice that on the desktop we have 2 columns of information. On a mobile device, in order to make everything readable, we actually stack the 2 columns. And so you scroll down the page. One of the best ways to create mobile responsive websites now is actually to build the mobile site first. It's backwards. We used to build the desktop and then worry, oh, mobile was an afterthought. Now it's the other way. You've got to look at how do people interact with your website from their mobile devices, and then go, okay, now I've got a bigger canvas. I can do more on my desktop. You need to think about vertical hierarchy, and this is tough because when you design for a big computer screen, you can have 3 things kind of all next to each other. But in mobile, something is going to go on top. And it's like telling a parent you have to pick a favorite child, but you have to. You have to know, what do you want someone to do first? What comes next? And you see you've got these 3 things side by side. When I look at this website on a mobile device, this is on top, this is next, and then this is next. Then there's a contact form. Then there are these 3 facts, and again, they'll outline. But in order to build this homepage, we really needed to think about what's the most important thing. We want people to sign up for a demo, so let's get that button right up top. Here's some benefits, and now here's another sign-up form. You need to think about what comes first, what comes next. And you can't just randomly throw things up and hope that they'll be scattered somewhere on your homepage and that somebody will figure out what they're supposed to click on. Uncluttered navigation. You need to create a logical path for visitors. You need to think about, when somebody comes to your website, where do you want them to go? And then create the navigation that makes it logical. And think about, what should people do first? Do you want people to download, schedule an appointment? And quite honestly, in your industry, well, I say your industry, I know that a lot of you are HVAC contractors, but the audience isn't exclusively HVAC. In any kind of service business, you should have at least a skinny contact form very high up on the page, because a lot of people, that's what they're looking for. Think about what you want customers to know and what do you want them to do and see. This is one of my favorite examples. Union 50 is a restaurant here in Indianapolis, and beside the fact that they have fabulous food and a wonderful bar, they have a brilliant digital marketing strategy. I love what they do everywhere, but I especially love their website, because the top of the page, there's no question. If I'm going to the Union 50 website, what they want me to do is make a reservation. Now, if I'm not ready to make a reservation, I can check the menu, I can look at the event, I can look at location and hours, but there's no question. You showed up on our website, book your table now. For you guys, you showed up on our website, give us a call. You need to think about what is the appropriate next step. For an HVAC company, schedule an appointment. In more of a service business or professional services, not everybody is going to, by now, schedule an appointment. So you need to think about, what are the logical steps? Is there a button that takes someone to learn more, watch a video, schedule a demo? This next step for every business is going to be different, but the top of your website should have one clear next step. This is a parking company, and let's face it, if you come to a parking company, the one thing you're probably looking for is finding and reserving parking. Now, they've got daily parking, event parking, monthly passes, other things that you can do. But the #1 choice is very clear. This is an HVAC company, and they're very clear. This is who we are, contact us. And then there are additional services down below. This is a flooring company that we work with, and they have a really long homepage, and I just cropped the top. But you can see very, very quickly, we bring samples, schedule a call. There's no question, there's no, oh, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. No, you showed up, here's what I really want you to do. And then for Randall Beans, they sell beans in glass jars. Their website is not an online shopping cart, and so what we really are trying to do in this instance is get people more excited about beans. We have found the best way to do it is to browse recipes. Okay, beyond the design, let's take a look at what's on the inside. The first mistake that we often see in the written content is what I can call you-centered content, or impersonal, stuff that sounds like it was written by a robot. What I want you to do is I want you to copy the text from your website into a Word document and print it out. I want you to hold a red and a blue pen in your hand. I want you to read the information from your website, and every time you hit a word that is what I call first person, us, our, we, our company, our methods, our strategy, how we do things, I want you to circle it in red. And every time you use a second person reference, you, homeowners like you, customers like you, Indianapolis residents, anything that speaks to the customer, I want you to circle in blue. When you're done with reading the content on your page, I want you to do a little counting. The blue circles should outnumber the red circles 2 to 1. If they don't, you need to rewrite your information a little bit and make it a little bit more personal, a little bit more customer focused. You want to be careful not to use too much jargon. Don't be too technical. But then also stale, shallow, and sloppy content. If you haven't updated the words on your website in the last few weeks, if you haven't added any new information, it's starting to get a little stale. If your average page has less than about 500 words, that's shallow. There's not enough information for Google to kind of hang on to. And sloppy content, spelling errors, spacing errors, you know what I'm talking about. Have someone go through and read your website who's a real nitpicker. In our office, my assistant is amazing. She finds every extra space, but I'll tell you what, our content looks good because of it. And words matter. You need to really think about who you're talking to. Now, I'm going to show you an example from my industry, but this could just as easily be your industry. Maybe you focus primarily on commercial or residential, or maybe you have a specific service like drain cleaning that you really focus on. The words you choose will help people figure out if they're in the right place. So I pulled examples of websites of other web design companies. This first one, freelance web WordPress development. They talk about PSD to website, WordPress and website design. The average customer is not going to have any idea what he's talking about, and he doesn't really care because he does not want business owners to call him. He wants other web development firms to call him. So he's talking to me, not to you. Conversely, I love these guys. Increase your sales and profitability. They are talking right to the real pain point of the average person who visits their website. Now, they specialize in e-commerce, and they have this lovely tagline here, learn how we help you. But this first sentence is all about the pain the customer is feeling. These guys, I know where they were going, but honestly, I can't think that there's a single business owner laying awake at night thinking to themselves, you know what I need? I need to level up my website. I know what they were getting to, but I think they really missed an opportunity to get to a pain point of their customer. They simply chose the wrong words. These guys, I think, did a really nice job of getting to a good benefit statement, but I think they put the emphasis in the wrong place. Grow your revenue with inbound marketing and sales the smart way. Business owners don't care as much about being smart as they do about growing revenue and sales. So I would, if I was doing this one, I would make these words bold and these words not so bold. I don't know what these guys are doing. Unleashing the creative potential of your people. It's a fun message, but it's kind of a stretch. And again, I think it gets to what they want to do when they're working with companies, but not necessarily what the companies want. And this last company, totally different. This is a really interesting approach. 90% of B2B buyers say they never respond to cold outreach. These guys are talking to other marketing people, and they're really hitting this pain point of, cold outreach doesn't work, and 90% of business buyers. So as I read this, I'm thinking, oh my God, everybody I want to talk to is not going to pay attention. This is a little more in your face. It's a little edgy. It's not right for everybody. This company's brand is all about being edgy. So as you're thinking about the words on your homepage, are you going to speak to the, two-story houses are always uncomfortable, we can help. There's nothing worse than a flooded basement. We'll bail you out. I mean, whatever, or something as simple as time to fix your furnace, call us today. Be very deliberate about your words. And yes, you need a blog. Google is looking for new information, and the easiest way to get a steady stream of new information on your website is to blog. And now you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, what do I blog about? I mean, air conditioning, how interesting is that? Let me tell you what you blog about. You write about your employees. You are doing business every single day where your people are walking into customers' homes and they want to know who's coming. Do employee profiles in any kind of service business is awesome. Instead of taking the same content that every one of your competitors is using about a particular product, what I really like to do is interview one of your employees and have them talk about why do they recommend this product. So it's not the sales pitch from the manufacturer, it's a very personal, I really like this product because it's really easy to install. We found that, customers really like the results that they get, whatever. Blog occasionally about trends, new regulations. If you're in the accounting or insurance industry, oh my God, the laws are changing all the time. Be a resource for people. And I'm going to tell you that obscure questions that people ask, for my carpet and flooring guy, the most popular page on his website is a blog post that says, what's the difference between frise and plush carpet? For an HVAC contractor out of Maryland, their #1 blog post was, how does a whole house humidifier work? For Randall Beans, it's what beans make the best chili? Think about the questions that you get asked every single day. If you write your answer down, you have a blog. Okay, now let's talk about conversion. Basically, you need to think about your website as a roadmap that moves people through discovering who you are, learning about products, beginning to trust you, converting and becoming customers, and then that last side of it, writing reviews and testimonials and becoming advocates for your brand. In order to do that, you have to have a web page that, and particularly focused on conversion, that tells people where do they go next. I wish I could tell you that this website doesn't exist anymore, but it actually does. And it just horrifies me because I get to this page, there are some links here, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Now, I'm going to assume that none of you have a website that looked this bad. It was designed in 2008, and I'm sure in 2008 it was a really good site. Well, it was an okay site. This one is a little bit better. It's clean, it's well organized, but the emphasis is in the wrong place. The most important thing to this customer is for people to get a quote, but her associations, the organizations she's affiliated with, these are actually much more prominent. You would think that this is what you're supposed to click rather than this. It's not obvious. There's no priority. The information is all just sort of scattered there. This is an HVAC site that we just redone recently, and I like this. There are still things that I would do differently. Some of my favorite things about this site, right up here, there's a little phone number that if you push it and you're on a mobile device, it will automatically dial their phone. This is what I'm talking about, the skinny schedule form. Let's face it, even if somebody fills out a contact form on your website, you don't want them actually scheduling the appointment, because you've got to dispatch your trucks and fit them into your schedule. What you want is their email address and their phone number so you can get back in touch. These skinny forms work really well. And then you've got other information and an offer to sign up for their newsletter. Every page on your website is a landing page. This is a training company, and there's a lot of different pieces of information, but they're very specific next steps. A landing page should be something that funnels you further into the site. Request an invitation, take the quiz. When you get inside, there are registration forms or request an invite. Every page on this website has a logical next step. And as you drive further, maybe there's a video, and then at the bottom of this page, there's actually a schedule appointment form. Logical next steps. What should you do? This is going to vary depending on your industry, but this is a pretty good list to get you started. Maybe at the bottom of a blog post, at the bottom of one page, you have read a blog, download a white paper, complete a self-assessment. People love to compare themselves to other people. Maybe you have an interactive form where they type in the dimensions of some of their rooms, or they ask a question or take a quiz. Maybe they can create a user account. Collecting favorites is really nice if you have a lot of products that you want people to maybe compare. Again, my carpet guys use that because people pick their favorite products from the gallery, and then he knows what samples to bring. Maybe it's watch a video or listen to podcasts. Podcasts are awesome. They are one of the easiest things to create. I don't have time to talk you through that now, but I will tell you, these short little audio files, and then you write the text of whatever you talked about, are awesome. People like them. They can listen to them on their phone, or they can read the information. But every page, when I get to the bottom of the page, the last thing you should do is have a button that says top. Because all you're telling me is, you got nothing else for me, I just need to go back. Every page should, it would kind of be like those old Ronco commercials that say, and wait, there's more. There should always be more. As you're building landing pages, as you're building pages that are designed to capture information, you've got to give people good reasons to take the next step. If it's an emergency service, they're going to fill out that contact form. But if they're just browsing, if they're remodeling their home and they're thinking, you know, maybe in 6 months, we're going to, hold on just a moment. Being close to a fire station is always a challenge when I record these webinars. Maybe you're selling a product that people don't necessarily rush to buy, but they're thinking about it. Maybe they're going to buy in about 6 months, and they're in data collection mode. Then what you want to do is you want to offer them an opportunity to sign up for, download a resource. Maybe it's a comparison guide. Maybe it's a guide on new trends or industry standards or regulations. Maybe it's a checklist. Maybe it's 10 things to do before you install new carpet, or 5 ways to save energy this summer. Any landing page that you create on your website, you want to follow a couple of rules. The first is you want to have one purpose for the website. If you're offering me a checklist or a resource kit or some kind of buying guide, that's the only thing on that page. You want to have a simple header. You want to do either limit the navigation. A lot of times on our landing pages, the only thing I have is my logo in the upper left-hand corner, so that you really have only 2 ways out. Fill out the form, give me your contact info, or go back to the home page. Some industries, I will do an optional phone number. You want to have the primary call to action above the fold or in mobile in that top screen. And then you might have some supplemental information with a second call to action at the bottom of the page. If you want people to fill out a form, you kind of need to give it a little bit of white space. So don't put the form on the page and clutter a lot of stuff around it. It really works well if you've got it encapsulated so it jumps off the page, maybe with some directional cues. And when you do this, this is probably one of the most important notes that you can take away from this webinar, and that is the less you ask for, the more you will get. I know that a lot of times service companies want name, they want address, they want phone number, because they're going to go out and do work at a customer's house, so they want the address, they want to know what the problem is. But here's the thing. If I'm doing that from my telephone, I am not going to type in all of that information. Remember, 56% of your traffic is coming from a mobile device. Make it easy. Let me give you the bare minimum of information. I'll fill it out, and now we can have a conversation. Now you can send me emails and I can respond. But if I'm doing that first interaction from my telephone, the worst thing you can do is make me fill out a long form. The less you get, less gives you more. So if you can get away with just name and email, if you need phone number, great. But all of this information, you're going to get a much smaller response. And only ask for what you absolutely need. Asking for 4 lines of information, you actually get, there we go, sorry, they're my statistics. You get a 5% dip in conversion if you include a phone number. If you have to have the phone number, if you're going to call the customer, then ask for it. But if you know you're going to follow up by email, don't even ask for the phone number. You get a 4% dip in conversion. So if there are 100 people fill out the form, 5 of them will stop when you get to the phone number. 4 more will stop if you ask for a street address, and 2 more will drop off if you ask for city and state. So basically 5, 9, that is 11 people that won't fill out your form because you're asking for too much information in the first interaction. And design matters. So when you creating that content form, make sure you left align, single column, large font, keep the questions simple, and this smart error handling. If you've ever filled out a form and you get all the way to the bottom and you hit submit and it takes you back to the top and there's a note up the top that says error, but it doesn't tell you where the mistake is, that drives people crazy. So make sure that if you have to have a longer form, that you tell people where the missing information is. When you're designing your form, think about action statements. Click, register, go, or benefit, get the kit, grab the worksheet, measure your results. Tell people what they get when they fill the form out. The third kind of buttons that really work are these avoid the loss. Don't miss this, last chance. Whatever you put in your button on your submission form, 1 to 3 words maximum. Keep the phrases short and all capitals. It is click, not click, get the kit, not get the kit. What's the difference? Visually, all caps are kind of like shouting. But when it comes to a call to action, you're standing there waving at people visiting your website. You want them to, you are going to shout at them a little bit to get their attention. And don't use the word submit. This study was done by Unbounce. They're one of the leading submission form houses, and they tested different phrases, and they found that register does 10% better, download is 15, go is actually a great phrase, 25% better than submit, and in their study, click here did 30% better than the word submit. Takeaway, don't submit. Button size, when you're putting a button at the bottom of a form, first thing you want to use contrasting colors. So if the rest of your website is blue and teal, you know, a nice orange button works really well. A good button should be at least a third of the width of the form. You might want to do a little subtle movement where when you gently roll your mouse over the button, it kind of flickers a little bit. And don't be afraid to go big. So, for example, get the worksheet. We also do it sometimes in blue on a nice gray background because that's my brand color. It works. Works even better when I go big. Okay, so let's move off of auditing the website. Let's take a quick look at the data. Number one, you need to have Google Analytics installed in your website. It will give you useful real-time data. It allows you to measure return on investment. It allows you to compare. Did I get a good return from my social media? I ran an advertising campaign that drove to a specific page. Did I get prospects filling things out, and did they ultimately become customers? Now, there is a ton of information in Google Analytics, and you can spend days and days and days. I'm going to high level go over just a couple of things that allow you to identify visitors who are most likely to convert. Identify the best traffic sources. Where are you getting more people from? One of the things that we learned is we got more people from Facebook, but the people that came from LinkedIn were more likely to fill out a contact form. So there's quantity and quality. We also know which pages on our website convert the best. I may have the same contact form on 10 pages, but I know that this page does the best job. And so over time, I can revise calls to action, change the next steps, really kind of tweak, all because I'm looking at the data. What data do I look at? Number one, visits. If you build it, do they come? This is from Google Analytics. This is the most basic report, and it shows year-over-year traffic. You can look at this period versus last period, but if you're in a seasonal business, comparing your web traffic from March to February, you're always going to look better in March than February, but it's not realistic. You need to compare to what happened last year at this time. When you're looking at the data, you always want to look for the green numbers rather than the orange. That tells you that you've had a percentage improvement. You want to look for weird spikes and valleys. Every now and then you're looking at the traffic pattern. Here what it looks like is we're doing just a little bit better week by week this year versus last year. Not really dramatic, but there was a kind of a little shift here where last year we were better. If this is more dramatic, what I want to look at is, did we run an ad last year? Did we run a promotion? Did we do something really good this year, or did we completely drop the ball last year? The new versus returning, this number is really distorted. I can go into a longer explanation. I don't really think this is very useful for very high level comparisons. What you really want to look at is what I call the ABCs. Audience, did we attract the right people? Acquisition, how did they find us? Behavior, what are they interested in? And conversion, did they take the next steps? So audience, you can actually look at age of people who come. You can look at men versus women. You can also look at where they're coming from. You can do a national map, but you can also do deeper dives into state level and I think even city level. So I think this is actually my web traffic, and it always makes me laugh. Obviously, we're in Indiana. Virginia is always going to be distorted because a lot of like AOL accounts actually route through Virginia. Then you look at the rest of the country. Why are we strong in Texas and California? Well, my husband's family is from Texas. I've got a lot of former employees in California. That for you looking at your businesses on a regional level, you really want to kind of look and kind of do deeper dives, changing the settings so it looks city by city instead of state by state. But you can see who's coming. Is it mostly men? Is it mostly women? This is kind of interesting. We've got a huge number of 18 to 24-year-olds coming to our website. They are not our target audience. What those 18 to 24-year-olds are is primarily people looking for jobs. And you can also, especially in consumer products, do a really deep dive and find things that they're interested in. This is really helpful if you're going to be doing advertising, marketing, and cross-marketing promotions to see what other things are they looking at and interested in. It's a little creepy how much Google knows about us, but they do. Acquisition. What you want to look for is how did people get to your website, and does it change over time, and the quality. So for example, the big categories: organic, direct, social, referral, email, and other. And I'm going to explain each of these, but organic, this is the number of people who came to the website because they searched for a relevant keyword. Web design, graphic design, heating and air conditioning, plumber near me. They searched and you came up. Direct traffic are the number of companies or the number of visitors who actually typed in the name of your company. Social is the traffic that comes from social media. Referral is traffic that comes from another site. Email, this is not traffic that comes when you send an email to me and there's a link. That email is traffic that's coming if you're using something like Constant Contact or MailChimp to deliver campaigns. And the last is other. I can do a dive down and look at organic traffic and look at how long do the people stay on the website when they come from organic versus direct. What pages do they go to? Do they fill out a conversion form? That's how I figured out that we got more visitors from Facebook, but we got better visitors from LinkedIn. By looking at your traffic, you can create improvement plans. You can really put a plan in place to target each source. If your direct traffic is not good, you really can't do anything online. If people are not putting in your name and searching, you need to get out into the real world and make friends. Maybe you need to network. Maybe you need yard signs. Maybe you need to be on television. You need to do things in the real world that get people to know your name so they come looking for you online. If you want to improve organic traffic, the best thing you can do is add more relevant information to your website. This is where a blog comes in. Referrals, the way to increase referral traffic is to get listed in more directories and cross promotions on other sites with link to yours. You want to improve social traffic? Get social. Start posting on Facebook or Twitter or even Google Plus more regularly. Create and expand your email list, and when all else fails, you may want to think about some paid advertising. Okay, people come, now what? The information that I always look at is landing page. These are the first pages that people come to my website. The little slanted line, this is my home page. And you'll notice that a significant number of people came to our site, and the first stop along the way was our home page. But the next 5 pages are all blog posts. And we had 2,900 people who came just to read this blog post. You can see how many new sessions. You can see how many pages did they go to. Well, what we know is if they come to our home page, they're going to look at a lot of other pages. When they come for the blog post, typically they only look at the blog post. So I have to have conversion forms on each of those blog post pages because that's the only place people are going to go when they come to read a particular article. I can also look at which blog posts do people hang around on long. You know, this one, people stayed a whole minute. Homepage, they stayed almost 2 minutes. Most other pages, 27 seconds, 36 seconds. That's fairly typical. You can also look at where did they go. This is how I know. This chart actually shows me that somebody who starts at my homepage, these are the pages they're most likely to go to. They might go to my team page, service description. 299 people went directly from the homepage to the contact form. 213 went to my portfolio. And I can do this for every page on the site. So take a look at that path. This is going to tell you, are your next steps working? And then figure out your exit points. This is the page that people look at right before they leave. You want people to stay longer? There are things that you can do to the design of your website. You want people to stay at least long enough to look at 2 pages on your website. So reduce the choices on each page. Don't give people 20 different options. The research actually says that the fewer pages and the fewer choices and the clearer the next step is, the better chance that you're going to increase page views. Simplify your navigation and address design issues. Make sure the pages load quickly and the site is mobile responsive. Look at what people are interested in and put more content on the website around those topics. For the plumber who had a post that was how do whole house humidifiers work, we wrote a series, why whole house humidifiers work in this community. What's the difference between a desktop and a whole house? And then you can also do conversion tracking, particularly if you're doing advertising, where you can look at, you know, I ran an ad, did people fill out the form? And go beyond Google. Look at, are people commenting on forms and pages? Are they filling out submission forms? Are they sharing your content on social media? Okay, just because you built it doesn't mean people are going to come. And I'm going to do SEO very quickly, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. The truth is, the best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of Google. And so you really need to look at things that you can do to improve the SEO of your website. What you need to understand is that Google is an advertising platform. They're in the business of selling ads, and they're good at it. And so how they decide what content to share is based on what they think is going to be of interest to people, so people come back and continue to use their search engine over and over. Google is smart, and creating the same content, putting it on 10 pages and just changing the city title, they don't fall for that. You can game the system. It might drive traffic for a little while, but it won't drive sales. Beyond your content, the site has to be fast. It has to be mobile. And this is not something that you can do one time and forget. Well, I had someone optimize my website last year. No, because I optimized your competitor's site 2 weeks ago. Guess who's going to win? And this is the big one. There are 40 to 60 billion searches on Google every month, and it is unrealistic to think that you're going to be #1 over and over again unless you are really working on these other things. As you're planning your SEO strategy, make sure you are using keywords in balance. Don't try to stuff 100 words in a line on one page. You know, we offer heating and air conditioning and furnace and air conditioning repair and AC repair in Carmel and in Westfield. And no, real language, real words. Make sure there's a unique purpose for every page, and that every page has a unique title and meta description. This is more of a geeky coding thing, but a lot of times I find websites have the different page titles when you come to them, but the SEO title is exactly the same for all of them. That's very confusing to search engines. Frequent updates and relevant links. Are you paying attention? Kind of, these are sort of the R's of SEO. Think like your customer. Focus on the buying intent. Think about what words do people use when they're ready to buy. There's a free keyword planning tool in Google. You have to have an AdWords account to use it. You don't actually have to buy any ads, you just have to set up the account. And you can type in the word you think people are looking for, and they're going to show you some alternatives. For example, in this instance, we searched the term AC repair, and this was just searches in this city. And we found that there were 210 searches every month for that phrase. Air conditioner got more searches, but we also know that that's broader because people type in air conditioner when they're looking for a car air conditioner and not just central AC. Air conditioning unit, AC unit, central air conditioning. So we got a pretty good list. I cropped it off here. It showed me how many searches every month, how competitive the term is, and you can tell how competitive it is by the suggested bid. If you want to place an ad for that word, you're going to spend $14 every time someone clicks. AdWords is expensive, but the information can be very helpful for free. You can see this is another example where you see a lot of different variations around the same word. You can see globally and also locally how many searches. A lot of times I will not go after the top two because it's too competitive, but I'll work really hard to write a lot of content for phrases in the middle. The other thing you can do is you can look for clues in your content. Google used to tell us what the most common keyword search terms were. They don't anymore. So now what we do is I just look at what pages do people come to recently. That's going to tell me what people are searching. Be realistic. Look at who you're competing with. Instead of trying to go broad, with clogged drains, do clogged kitchen drains. Instead of trying to win Midwest, do Indianapolis. There are a lot of tools that you can use. This is a SERPstat report that will show you how you're doing. Focus on local because local search drives results. Okay, I could go on and on and on, but I see that we're really at 1:20. And so, Paul, if there are questions, I'm going to catch my breath here and answer questions. And if not, I have a few more slides.
Sounds good. Yeah, if anyone in the audience has any questions, go ahead and type them in. I have a couple that have come in so far. First question was from Nikki. How often should I blog?
Oh, gosh. Nikki, the short answer is more often than your competitors. The longer answer varies by industry. For example, we're blogging every day. For a home services company, if you can get, or professional services, if you can get one blog a week, that is great. At a minimum, one a month.
Okay. Next question was, how should I do it incorporate testimonials?
Oh, I love testimonials. So there are a couple of different ways to use testimonials. First off, number one, people will always be a little skeptical of any content on your website. So you definitely want to be pushing people to Google reviews and Facebook reviews to get them there. But then maybe do a case study. Something that we do on a lot of websites is maybe we put like one testimonial on each page. So someone is talking about whatever service, you know, if it's a web design, I might do a testimonial there. You can also do a review page, and if you're doing a review page, pull a couple of your favorite reviews, but then link to the sites where you want people to go and leave reviews. Google reviews are incredibly powerful, and Facebook reviews also drive some terrific results.
Okay, and I've got one more question here so far. It's sort of a two-part question. Um, how much time each day should I work on my website to get the full benefit? And then the second part of it is then it's a lot of info. What do I do first?
Ah, um, I would definitely break it down. I would do an audit on your website, and the first thing you want to do is figure out, do you have a foundation you can build on, or do you need to blow it up and start over? Now, yes, we build websites. I became an advocate for WordPress about 9 years ago because what I found with WordPress was once you built it, then you could go in and just fix one page without touching anything on the rest of the site. And it allows us when we're working with companies, and it allows our clients to make changes a little at a time. Working on your website every day, oh my God, you'll never get anything done in your business. If you set aside an hour or two, let's say 2 to 3 hours total a week, unless you're in my industry, unless you're competing with me, where you're actually selling digital services, then yeah, we do make changes to our website every single day, but I'm competing with people who are doing that. If you're in banking, legal, accounting, plumbing, air conditioning, if you go in, write a blog post and tweak 1 or 2 things each week, you're gold. Yes, you could spend all day every day doing this, but you actually have to make a living. I like to create a plan that is manageable for businesses. Good question. Oh, and the other half of it, what does it come first? Do your audit. Figure out where your weak spots are, and then create your wish list and create an action plan. And decide, some pieces of it you may need to outsource, some pieces you need to do in-house. Finding a good partner who can help you sort of navigate that can be very valuable.
Excellent. That is it that I see for questions so far. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Well, 2 things. Number 1, we have a workbook that is sort of a companion to this presentation. And Paul's going to give me the email list. You're going to get 1 email from me with a link to download the workbook. And if you're interested in some of the other resources and longer versions of this presentation, there'll be a way to sign up for that. And if you're curious, there'll also be a link to sign up for we do a free 15-minute, just quick audit of a website, so we can give you a couple of quick ideas based on the outline that I just showed you.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead.
No, this was really fun. Thanks for the invitation.
You are welcome. And just a reminder to the audience that the presentation was recorded. You'll receive an email with a link to it. So if there's part of it that you want to go back and listen to, you can do that. So look for that email in the next day or so. That will do it now for this Business Advantage webinar brought to you by Grandy and Associates. We hope you have a great day, and we look forward to hearing from you.